Hey there, it's Paula with Dip into Art, and I'm happy to say I'm going to guide you through another beginner charming watercolor painting that is full of character. This is another of 5 Highlander cow designs in my watercolor art kits for beginners. I will be using all the supplies you will receive in your art kit to show you how to render these cute designs in a loose, fun fashion using beginner watercolors. So join me at my workspace and we will get to painting. Okay, welcome to my workspace. So you will receive in the art kit a pre-printed design like this. This is on watercolor paper. This paper is 8.5 by 11. Yes, 8.5 by 11, 140 pounds or 300 GSM watercolor paper, which means it's holds a lot of water and a lot of paint. It is a beginner watercolor paper. However, I have found that I'm loving these. They hold up to paint and water very well. You'll receive these watercolors. It's a 12 color watercolor paint set. Inside the paint set is the paintbrush. This is a new one, so I've taken the packaging off, and the paintbrush is in here. You'll also receive a color wheel that looks like this, similar to this. I think this is the one. And this just shows you how to mix colors to make a different color. So you can use that in your designs and mix up your own colors as you go. But I'm going to show you that you can use beginner watercolors and paint a cute design in a very loose, fun fashion with these watercolor paints and this design. So this design, we're actually going to start with the flowers and then the cow and then the background. This one has a dark background. We have some purplish flowers on each of the baby Highlander cow and the mommy cow head. And so we'll go ahead and work that way. We're going to work from light to dark, and which means we'll work with our light colors first, and we'll go into our dark colors. This is not included in your watercolor kit, but most people have a Crayola crayon, that's wax, or some sort of wax stick you can use. I use these to create highlights in my designs, or just a piece of wax. This is just a piece of clear wax, no color on it. And what I do before I start painting is I will take and use one of these wax crayons and mark out areas of the painting where I don't want color to go or to show. I just want the white of the paper to show through, and that will act as our highlight. This one got broken. I have another one. Doesn't matter if they break, but I'll still use it. Anyhow, what I will be doing first is kind of marking out the areas where I want the highlights of the cow. So let's say we want some highlights in the flower itself. So we'll go ahead and lay some wax down. And you can't see the wax, you kind of feel it. And you sort of just guess, like, where would I want a highlight or two showing? And we'll either just rub some wax on there, dot some wax on there, and make some highlights. Typically in the eyes, you want highlights. So there's 2 little marks for highlights here in the mommy eye. And then let's see if we can see some highlights here in the baby, maybe in the nostrils a bit. And add some highlights here, highlights in the nose. And the baby's got some flowers going on. So I'm just being very random about it and just marking out even in some of the fur, just marking some lines in there. And so I'll just go through the entire design and just mark out some highlights. Maybe in the mommy horns up at the top, maybe in some of the leafy areas. Put some wax down, get some highlights in there. Okay. You just got to look at the shapes and just go around and kind of mark your highlights in the same direction your shapes are going. So if these shapes are coming down, I'll just drag my crayon down or my wax down. And it's kind of fun because you never know where it's going to show up, because as you start painting, you sort of forget, or I do anyway, where I laid the wax down. And sometimes I wonder why there's no color. showing up on the page, and that's because I have wax down on there. And I think I'll just keep it like that, just keep it pretty random, and see what we come up with. So what did I say we were going to start with first? The flowers? Let's do it. Let's start with the flowers. Just a second here. There we go. Getting a little bit organized. So that's one thing. When you're painting, be organized, have things ready to go. I'm going to pull my napkin out here. I've got a cup of clean water, a paper towel, for cleaning my paintbrush, and wetting my pigments in the palette. I also have a spray bottle that I use to wet my pigments to start with because they're dry, and activate watercolor with water. So this helps. I'm not going to do let's do a light blue color first for the flowers. So we'll go in, grab some blue, just a little pile of blue like this. I'm going to do a little pile of purple. It's okay if it mixes with the blue. And we'll take some of this creamy white color, it's more of a creamy color, and just pale out some of these areas of both your blue and your purple. So it'll give you a pale color and a pigmented color. And then we're just going to go right in with the flowers. So I'm going to start with my light blue and just start laying down around the shapes of the flowers. And you can sort of see where the shapes are at. We have a flower here, here. Use some water and spread the paint around. Right here. Doesn't look like much right now, but it's just laying down color right now until we see our shapes. Okay. And blue. Right here. And then we'll add our purple in there and just let it blend in this. Just like that. Really picking out here. Really pretty colors. Awesome. Letting that blue and purple mix. Then for the center of our flowers, we'll darken those up here in just a second. Get to the edge of this flower. So this is a top flower here. This is a bottom flower right here. So some of these designs really make you think about the shapes and what are the shapes representing. Okay. A little bit of glare from the light. And then the center of the flowers will be dark, and we can just go straight in with this black if we wanted to. If it's not too wet, like my paper's drying pretty quick, we can just dab in some of that black and let it spread a bit, just a little bit. All you need is a dot, and if it's wet, it will spread. And if there's too much water, it's spreading too much, just dry your brush off and soak up some of that water. That'll get us started there. And maybe our next flowers over here will be, I'll use just blue for now, kind of comes down and around. where the shape of this flower will be. It should be right here. And you want to vary up your blues and your purples as you're painting these flowers. Vary up the color and the values from dark to light, light to dark. You can see my wax is resisting on some of the highlights there, resisting the paint. And then we can just drop some purples. And go straight into your pan. Since it's wet, grab some pigment. And we want these to blend. So go ahead and just do this part while your paper is wet. And if it's drying off a bit, that's okay too. You can go back in later and add some more if you want. Maybe around some of the edges of these lines, you add darker values. We probably should wait to put the centers in until it's a little bit more dry, but got a bit of wax on this guy, so I don't think it's going to spread too much. I just want to get them in there just to show you the difference. And we'll go to the top flower up here, so they're coming around like this, around that leaf shape, and coming down. So we're going to do purple first on this guy, just to change it up a bit. And we can grab some more blue. Maybe root it out with some white fish. We can just dab in some blue. And let that all blend together. Maybe touch more purple in some spots. Maybe darker where you want to see the curve of the flower. Okay. And I'll wait to put the center in until it dries a little bit more. And we have this bottom flower here. It's coming around. Just basically those circles. And this will drop a little bit of a darker blue. And it's wet. And you can move color around as long as your paint is wet. You can move that color around. And grab some more purple. Some more white. Move it out a little bit. Nice and soft. And we'll just add some to the wet paint around the curves. And say the curve is like the outlines of the flowers. And you can paint these any color you want, really. Let these flowers stand out. You can really see the highlights where the wax was laid down. Then we'll go into the little baby's flowers. It's got some leaves poking up too. You'll have to kind of form those in, and I'll show you how to do that. This is a little flower. This is a flower. She's got 3 flowers. 2 little circle shapes. 3. Just getting these wet. And some blue. And drop it in. And the paint will spread where the water's at. You can help it spread along if you need. the paintbrush. So they're tickling it around here. Grab some purple. Ooh, I grabbed blue. That's okay. Grab some blue. Almost a lot of blue. And grab some purple. And let that blend in. These flowers, just be very loose about it. Like you're just dropping color in. You need to lift out some color, dry your brush off, clean it, dry it off in a paper towel, and lift. Grab some of that color out. Oh, it's still wet. Maybe we get some little bit of red on a couple of these, a little bit different. Just dabbling in the red. And then we'll let these dry. That red one got muted out. Yeah, blue and the purple. It's almost gray, but we can fix that in a minute. Or you can just do it less water, more pigment. Drop some blue back in. And keep it just like that. Those are still kind of wet over there. So maybe we'll go into, we'll make the nose color. So we're going to do the noses, really light rosy color. This red over here for the really pink hue. And we're going to pale that out with some of this white, or creamy white. Make it very pale pink. So I'm just going to go into the notes, touch all the way around with water. And we'll drop the pink in. Drop some of this pink in. This. And watercolor does dry lighter than when you put it on. So if it looks dark to your eye, it will lighten up as it dries and soaks into the paper. Then we'll do the baby's nose so it comes down. Coming off the page. This is where your little brush comes in handy. These little lines in here. Nose. And let's do the ears pink. This pink color of the baby. And just water. And drop that pink color you have in there. Right in her ears. And she's going to have a little peachy pink face, so we'll add just a touch of orange. Make it a little bit peachy. And we'll go around her, this little thing sticking out there, that's her eye. And if it gets in there, that's okay, because her eye is going to be black. And we'll go up sort of around. If you get in the lines, that's okay, because the fur is going to be a darker color. I'm going to add just like a little peachy face. And then the eye's right here, right there. I'll just spread out some of this color up into the fur for now. You don't have to do that, but if you went inside the lines, you can just bring some of that color up. It'll just add to the fur. Okay, and then for the mommy's face, we're gonna make her face just a little bit more brown than the baby. So we're gonna add some of this brown to our peach color. She's gonna have a bit of a darker face. And her face comes right along these lines. We can get some water on there and spread that color around. And the face will end right about there. And then we'll go ahead and go around mommy's eyes like this. We go into the eye, that's okay, because we're going to be painting the eye black. Okay. You almost look like one same one. If you wanted her face more of a tan color, you can just add some more brown to it. Some brown like this. And maybe add a little bit of that white to the brown and make her face a little bit darker than the baby. I'm going to go over it again. And just go right over the eye. And you can do that because you know that you're going to paint the eye a darker color and it will cover it up. And we'll do it just like that. And then we'll go into, let's do the Highlander cow's horns here, her horns. So we're going to mix up some of this white and really all the colors that are in the white here. It's pale pink right now. Add a dab of brown. And all we're going to do is create just a little bit of color on her horn. It's a pinky beige color. And go right up into this area where the flowers are. Just dabble some color around there so it look like a little bit of a shadow. Like that. Then along the edge, maybe make it just a touch darker. Along the edge of the bottom of the horn, it's got a bit of a shadow. And there's a little bit of the horn poking out here, so we'll go ahead and add that color here. Okay. Maybe swoop some out or highlight right on top. If you need highlights, just take a plain dry brush. If the paint's still wet, you can just swoop your brush along and scoop out some color to add some highlights. And then we're going to do the leaves. I'll show you the leaves. Leaves. I'm going to do a light green. And I do want some of this white. I'm going to pale it out a bit so it's not so bright. Makes it look almost pastel. We're going to add some greenery to the top crown of flowers with these leaf shapes here. A little bit of water, and spread that paint out. Be to do the darker green. This little V here. Just drop. Ooh, pretty dry. So grab some darker green. It's there. We'll just do that for now. Maybe add some hints of dark and greenery. And then go around to the next leaf, which would be one coming up around here. And there's one like this. Get some of that darker color. Pop it in places. There's these little leafy things poking out here. Just scrub on some green. And we've got another leaf coming around this way. Got some of that Viridian, looks like Viridian green on the brush. So we'll go back into the light green. And paint these leaf shapes in here. Grab some more dark. Pop that in places. Then as your painting dries, you can add a deeper color or a deeper, some more pigment in there, and it will show up more as it dries. It won't blend as much. Okay. So you can have some leaves coming down from the flowers into the hair, and I'm just sort of poking in between the flowers and down into where the cow's fur will be. And some real quick leaf strokes here. And we're going to the baby. And do the same thing. The leaves around her head. So right here is a leaf. Right here. Got a few poking out right here. So I'm going to go ahead and move this green down. Just got some leaves coming like this. Maybe we make one up right here. And on his face. And this is where you can just really add leaves wherever you want. Around the flowers. things like that. Poking down into the fur, just random. We'll add some darker colors to shape them up a little bit more. Just keep going. Now I think we'll let those dry for now, and then we'll move on. We're going to go ahead and go into, you know what I like to do? I want to paint the eyes. I need to see the eyes. So let's do that. This is all dry in their face, so we can go ahead and go into the eyes. The eyes really are important in animals, whether they're realistic or not. It just makes the painting. And you definitely want those highlights in the eye. Let's see where I had that wax. Leaving the highlight in there. And we'll paint the nostrils. Get that done. If your brush is flaring out, it means it's pretty dry. Mine's pretty dry. So just a little bit of water, a little bit more pigment. And we'll go around the shape. Now it just adds instant light. Painting the eyes. I love painting shapes. And then we're going to paint the baby's eyes. Go right in there. Right around the fur that's going to be coming down. A little bit of negative painting. Going this. She's got some fur hanging over her eyes. Keep those sections there. And then we'll paint her nostrils too. Just so. Super cute. Instant light. Maybe we can outline a bit. Let's go over the black lines that you see. Outline. And just a touch. I put wax over those, but that's okay. A little bit of black. And we do an outline there. And we will go in to the flowers. If you wanted to use straight black, you can. You can just go in and dabble just a little bit more black. Leave some white space. It looks like a bit of a highlight. I'm really just dabbling my paintbrush in there. Sort of dotting around the center and leaving some space for some highlights to come through, like that. Another one. And just poke around in there a little bit. And then if you wanted to take some more black and grab some dark blue and mix it with your black. You can go around maybe some of the edges of inside of here. This will make your flowers sort of pop a bit more. Just where you see those lines, you can grab some of those. And if you want to change up the lines to add some purple, some paint palette code W here. Let your purple. And pick up some of that purple color. Maybe a little bit more purple. And just sort of go along the edge of the flowers. And give them some more shape. And maybe we'll keep going with that here. You'll want to do this part when it's dry. Something like that. And we'll do the same thing for a baby's flowers. Little strokes. Give the flowers a little bit of a boost. Cute. Already super cute. Can't take it anymore. So cute. I always like to remind painters when they're painting with me is your painting will go through an ugly phase, a phase where you're not sure that you're doing anything right. But in the end, it'll look cute and fantastic. It's all about the end result here. Okay. Step by step, stage by stage. And then maybe we'll bump up the leaves a little bit more now that they are dry. And how we can do that is we can take some more green to our palette. And you can add any dark color you want. You could add purple, you could add blue. I think I'll add, let's see. I think I'm going to add, darken it up. Maybe some purple. That'll gray it out a bit and make it a deeper green. Blue would work too, and I'll show you what I mean. So I'm going to go over there, see how much darker that is. Maybe we'll go over some more of these. Leave the light green showing as well. All I'm doing is pointing my brush and kind of pushing down on the belly just a little bit to make these leaf shapes. More green, purple, and this. And you can see these leaves just starting to come together. That's this leaf one. Don't paint over all the light colors. I want those to show. And just keep going like this. And we'll have some more poking out here. And I see something wonky with this flower up here. If you see something that you aren't happy with, just go back in and mess with it a little bit. Not too much. Okay, that's good. Oops. Did I lose you? I pressed the button. I think you're still there. Yes. Oh. Now we'll go into the baby cow. Her leaves. Maybe we'll use some blue this time. Some dark blue to darken up that green. And we have a, wow, that's a really blue green. It's too blue green. And some more green. Bring it back. And we'll do the same thing. Just bump up some color here. Little teeny leaves coming out. And then we'll go see if you can see that. Shape them up a bit. Okay, I think that's good for the leaves. And now we'll get into the fun part. Get into the fur. And I'm just going to clean my brush off as best I can. If the leaves are still wet up there, it will blend with the fur, but I'll try to stay away from that until they dry. And I've got a tad bit of green left over on my brush. And that's okay. Because I'm going to darken up the cow's fur here. I'm just dropping water. Tinted water, mind you. And I'm going to grab just some brown and drop the brown in to the wet paper. I sure got a lot of wax on this part. She's going to have a lot of highlights. She's going blonde. Again, Highlander. And do this. I've got a lot of water on my paper. So what I'll do is just drag some of this down along the nose and the face. So to make a body here, big body part. And I'm going to keep my strokes coming down, straight down like this. Even with the water, it's good practice. When you have just water on your brush, just practice your brush strokes in the direction you want your paint to go. So this pigment, I want it to come straight down. And I'm going to use the same brown, like this. And we'll darken this up here in a minute. And just keep dropping in very loose strokes. I like to go under and down, under and down, under and down. That way you get a dark line under, let's say this is a cheek, dark line under, and then scrape down with the color. And this is her back. So we're just going to go straight across like that, just to give a hint that it's there. Under and down, under and down, under and down. And then I'll go into this section of her face, right around the baby's ears. It's going to go up right along that line. I started with some color so I can map out where that line is at, where the ear meets the mommy's face. Just take color and kind of draw that line around there, and then drop and drag color into the fur. Sort of going in between the leaves, just a little, and go up here. Shape this fur and down. I'm just painting with water right now, pretty much whatever color's on my brush. And then I'll go into the brown again and start dropping color. Under and down, under, down and around. If you smear some of the leafy part here, that's okay. It makes it look watercolory. Watercolory. Is that a word? It's not a word. But you know what I mean. Fluid. Maybe under this flower and down. And then we'll let that dry. We'll add some more dark color over the top. And then we'll go now into the baby. And we're going to make her fur a bit lighter. So we'll use some yellow and brown. Yellow. And let's go right into this baby. Do the dry, wet on dry, which means the paper's not wet, but the brush is wet. We'll just kind of mark out the baby's fur line. And the smaller spots, you want to just use about the tip of your brush and swoop in there. And some water, just lightly go around her ears. Like this. Okay, I am back after this brief intermission. This painting has dried since I had been offline for a while, and we are going to go ahead and continue and finish painting this Mommy and Me Highlander cow. So what I'm going to do next is paint the baby cow's fur in the back, the rest of it. So this is going to be her body back here. We're just going to sort of wiggle our brush along the edge and just pull down the color, just like this. And keep the baby's fur a bit light. Maybe we can add just some of the brown in spots, sort of drop the color in. Things like that. And then before we go, no, we'll go ahead and do the background, and then we'll go back in and do some touch-ups to the mommy and to the baby with some darker values, some darker colors in their fur to make it stand out a bit more. I'm just going to drop, there's a little piece of the fur sticking out here, like that. So the background on this painting is quite dark, but what I thought we would do is paint the lighter spots that are going to be in the background first. So these dots that you see here, we can do those as sort of a purple or a lavender color that match the flowers. So we could just go straight into our purple and mix it in with this blue. Gives us a nice purple color with some blue tint to it. And then we can mix up some blue, just what's left in our palette. Just re-wet the paint that's in your palette. There's quite a bit more than you think, so just wet it all up and use these colors to paint the spots. You can just mix them up as you go. Maybe some blues and some purples. Things like this. Maybe a little more purple and some. This spot here. So I've got a lot of purple on my brush. I'll do some spots over here. Maybe a bit more dark blue to this. And just paint these spots, just like this. Doesn't matter if you go outside the lines. So we'll be painting around these spots. And I think that'll do it for the spots. Now you can keep it just like this with a white background, or you can add a dark background. So I'll go into a spot that everything is pretty dry. So when we're working around the lines, just since this is dry, it's okay to go sort of into what's already painted. But we just kind of work around and add some color. So I have a very dark background in the painting. We'll be using straight black here, a touch of brown, more black than brown. So warm it up. I just dig into the black, pick up a lot of pigment. More pigment on your brush than water for this area because we've already wet this down quite a bit. And if it's a little bit too wet, I see some puddles here. I'm going to dry out some of the puddles before I drop the color in. And all I'm doing is just dropping the color in around the outlines of the mommy and the baby. Just like that. And if you get any into, I got this a little bit wet in between here, you could just dab it up with a water paper towel. And you can even poke out some highlights with your paper towel if you want. And we can even go drop some color in here. I haven't wet the paper down yet, but we'll just put some color down and then we'll get our brush wet and spread it with water on our brush. Let's sort of go around the little sections that might be behind the cow. Like that. And wherever your painting is dry, you could go ahead and just start adding water to the background. And if you get some color bleed from your spots, that's okay. In other words, if you pick up a little bit of the blue or a little bit of the purple, it'll just add to the background. Now you can make your background as light or as dark as you want. So I'll just go in sections on here. Let's move the water around and then drop color in. Maybe work around your spots a little bit. Work around the outline. If your spots were a little bit more wet than you thought and it's bleeding in, just dab it up with a paper towel. You might not have given these enough time to dry. It's just a little bit of a light layer, so I thought maybe they were all pretty dry, but I was wrong. We're just going to go around just like this. And since we're painting around outlines, it does take a little bit longer. Get the background in. I'm just really, all I'm doing is painting with water right now with the little bit of the blackish brown color that I have. Maybe I'll add a little bit more brown to this, change up the value a little bit. A bit darker around the edges. And put it in there. Grab some more water. Using just the color that's on my brush, I'll go ahead and go around these areas. There's a lot of water there, so I'm going to pull it out and spread it. And we can just drop some color in as we go and let it spread. Just randomly drop some color. And add some more water, spread it around, right up to that line there. Drop some color in as you go. And you don't have to do the background with blacks and brown. You can do them with dark blue, purple, red even if you wanted to. And we'll just go along the horn, getting areas wet that we haven't done yet. Pull this water around. A little bit more water. And just keep going. Maybe the sections up here will have a bit more brown. Back. Just pull some of this color out into the wet area. Just wiggle your brush around, patterns. It doesn't have to be perfect. And if you get blooms and blossoms like right here, that is okay for this type of painting. These are a good thing. Just a really splashy black background. Maybe the top part we keep light, the lighter color. I'm picking up some of that green from these flowers, but that's okay. Maybe take some color, some lighter color around the outlines and let it spread. I mean, some lighter, some darker colors here. And just sort of pull it around. As long as the paint is still wet, the paper is still pretty wet, you can move it around. Oh, oops, a lot of water. We'll go in between. Doesn't have to be perfect, just add a little bit of color in between. Keep getting droplets of water in my little flowers. Let me do this real quick. Put some black and brown mixed up. Maybe a little bit darker between here. Maybe some more darker spots in here. Just dotting it in there. Okay, and then we'll do one last corner. This right corner here. Go in between lines. Around our spots. Or dot shapes. And drop some color. Maybe this side be a bit darker. Just gently go around like that. Go around these shapes just a little bit more. And that is the basic background. Okay, and you can darken up some of these when it's dry. Let's say we want to darken up some of the blues. So just go in there and grab some blue and drop some more blue right in the spot shapes, as long as it's dry. And you can darken those up so they stand out a bit more. Maybe some more purple on some of these. Right? And that spot's a little bit wet. Be careful, the paint's wet. Okay. Let's give you a little bit of a close up. And you can darken up the background if you want. You can do multiple things to the background. So we can add a bit more color to the fur, some more contrast. We'll grab some more brown. Maybe some purple. Darken that brown a little bit. And just swirl your brush around in there. I'll work on baby's fur a little bit more. So we'll add just some streaks of brown like this. Have her fur stand out a bit more. Leave the light showing through, the light color. And just dabble in like that. If you want to add just a touch of black, you can. And separate some of those little fur babies. Like that. And you can even do inside here just sort of the outline of the baby's face meeting back into the background. And then we'll do some of the same thing with the same color. Up into the fur that's coming around her face. And this is wet on dry, so I'm not wetting the paper down. I'm just doing the pigment and the dry brush, and we'll go around in the ears a bit. Just using some brush strokes to add some more darker colors to the baby's fur and around the body, on the ears. Leaving some light spots poking through. Maybe a touch of dark, maybe some black. And just go around some of the edges, right at the tip. A bit more dark. There's enough brown in there, so it's not black, fully black. And I think our baby's looking kind of cute. There. Maybe we'll separate a little bit of the top of the ear of the baby against the mommy. And if you wanted to sort of outline darker around the flowers, you can. And then put some centers with some dark in these leaf shapes so they stand out a bit more. And you can outline the flowers again as you go. As long as they're dry, it'd be good to outline your flowers and make them pop out a little bit. And you paint on the brush. So I'm just using this dark color that I have mixed up in my palette here. I'm just going to outline some more shapes of these flowers. Just like this. You should still be able to see the shapes poking through. You need a guidance. And we'll say that she, Diddy the baby, is done. Maybe darken up the nose if you want. Darken up any areas that you think you want to pop out some more. Maybe the eyes. Like I said, those are important, so we'll darken up a bit of her eyes here. I'm sort of cutting around the fur that's hanging down. And then we'll do the mom. And we're going to do some more. We're going to probably use the same colors here. We're going to use a lot of this brown. We have a lot of fur to cover, so we're going to mix up a big pile. Brown. Along with some, I'll have hers be a bit darker than baby, so we'll do some black. I have some purple running through there. And we'll do wet on dry, can't talk today, with a dry paper and wet paint on the brush. And we'll just go all around the mommy. Just in different places. Especially, say, around the eyes, up where the fur is coming down from the flowers. Like this. On the tips. Leave that light showing through. And then we'll do some more strokes. If you don't have any lines to guide you, just follow the curve of the fur, or the shape of the fur. So we got this shape. We got this shape. Like that. The paper really soaks up the paint when it's dry. So we're going to grab another pile. We can even run some blue through here. So if I grab a lot of blue, you get this nice dark color, maybe for the back area. And some purple, change it up as you go. And we can just keep going, just like this, until you like the way your fur is laying and looking. I think that was cute. We'll add a few more streaks in between. Maybe some more underneath the flowers. Separate the flowers a bit from the fur. Do some, maybe a bit more right here. Yeah, just look at your painting and see where you might want to add some color, some darker values to make it really stand out. And you can just go, instead of going right in a row, you could just randomly put them in first, like this, and then go in between. That way that stops you from even adding maybe too much, which I tend to don't know when to stop, I guess you could say. I'll go in between here. And then again. Grab some streaks around the flowers that are poking out of the baby. And I think that looks quite nice. And while we're here, we can add some leafy centers, if you will. And like that. We need some more green, take some black, and reactivate this green here so it's not too black. And since these shapes are dry, the color won't blend as much and they'll stand out, although they won't blend at all. So we're going to go over these flowers, and I think I'll just stick with this greenish dark mixture as it's there. Maybe add some shape to the flowers, more shape. And just keep going. Just a bit more. We're just painting the idea of flowers. In other words, we're not going for a realistic, just the idea. There's flowers hanging out. So when your painting dries, you can really see if the painting is too flat, you need to add some darker values to the colors or around the edges. That's about the time you'll know, is when it's completely dry. So those really stand out nicely now. Whoops. And then we're going to go back. We're going to do the bottom portion of the mommy Highlander cow's fur. So we're going to do that brown and some purple. We'll start with that, and then we can add a touch of black later. So this fur is really sort of coming straight down like this. So that's what we're going to do. Come around the face and come down. I like to do that from around the outlines and pull down. I'm going to darken this section up a bit so you can see. And you just go in with your darks and lights and add some more fur texture. Maybe you could go around the top portion of the nose like this. More color on the nose, and more color on the bottom part of the mouth. Mix, mix, mix. Brown, purple, and some black. And we'll just we're going to go around the base. I'm going to show you how I do that. On the base and then down. On the base and then scoop down. And you're just cutting into the lines and coming down. Cutting into the lines and coming down. I'll show you. Same with the back portion right here. Cut into the back portion and sort of swoop down like that. Cut in between where the fur is hanging and swoop down. And just stick your brush all around. And we can just fill this in if you want. I kind of left this blank. I like the watercolor edge in the paper. And then we can add a touch of these dark values sort of in between. Break it up a bit. And this dark color breaks up the fur. I'll just streak some of this in here. Just doing some real quick flick motions of my paintbrush like that. And then if you wanted to go back into her eyes and do another layer of black, make sure she's got some highlights poking through. Bump up the darkness of her eye. And as you see it drying, if you need to add some more flicks and streaks, you can. If your brush is almost dry, you'll have a dry brush effect, meaning it will sort of break up as you put it down. And then you can add a bit more into the nostril area. That's the first thing you notice about cows, don't you, is their noses. Always got their noses sticking out at you. Which is what I love about them. And there you have it. The mommy and baby Highlander cows with a crown of flowers. And up next, we will do another Highlander cow. This one is going to have a crown of flowers as well, but it will have some kind of grass coming out of its mouth, like she's eating and all that good stuff. So join me in the next video, and I hope you learned something from this and you have fun painting with your art kits. And thank you everybody who have ordered already. You guys should have already received your kits, and I hope you enjoy. We will see you next time.